10 Florida locations share a pattern investigators still can't fully explain. People enter and don't come back. We're counting down from open water corridors where boats vanish mid-route to barrier islands that reshape themselves between visits. These aren't legends. They're clusters of unresolved cases and records that go strangely quiet. Starting at number 10, a maritime corridor where ships and aircraft have been disappearing long before anyone thought to ask why. In the 10th place, the maritime corridor linking Tampa, Key West, and the Dry Tortugas presents Florida's oldest pattern of open water losses. Long before the Bermuda Triangle entered popular culture, local records documented vessels and aircraft vanishing along this specific route. The sheer scale of the Gulf waters created massive gaps between an initial distress call and any rescue attempt, often leaving investigators without physical wreckage. Official logs from early decades remain sparse, with many files closed quickly due to the extreme difficulty of deepwater salvage. These cold maritime cases established a historical precedent of unresolved disappearances. In the 9th place, Ocala National Forest covers 400 square miles of central Florida, containing the largest contiguous sandpine scrub forest on Earth. Since 1971, investigators have tracked a persistent cluster of missing persons within these boundaries. The environment itself presents the greatest obstacle. The dense, visually repetitive sandpine scrub has few natural landmarks, making orientation incredibly difficult for hikers who stray from marked trails. Because the thick canopy conceals the ground from aerial search teams, rescue windows close rapidly as heat and weather conditions erase vital clues. In the 8th place, Lake Okeechobee's North Shore presents a highly concentrated and rapid series of unexplained fatalities. From 2002 to 2004, local records documented 8 drownings along this specific shoreline, with all 8 incidents occurring within a compressed 18-month window. The shallow, marshy waters of the North Shore are highly exposed to sudden, violent weather changes, yet the clustering of these deaths raised immediate questions. State agencies initiated a multi-jurisdictional investigation into the sudden spike, only to quietly close the files with limited public explanation or forensic resolution. This high density of cases over a short period establishes a troubling pattern that remains officially closed, yet completely unsatisfying. In the 7th place, Miaka River State Park spans 58,000 acres of wetlands and floodplains east of Sarasota. Since 1997, search teams have responded to 3 separate disappearances within these boundaries, each involving highly experienced outdoorsmen. These individuals possessed proven wilderness survival skills, yet the park's shifting river oxbows and dense marshlands compromised their navigation. In one recent case, searchers tracking a missing hiker recovered a body in the river after a week of intensive searching. The fact that extensive outdoor competence failed to prevent these outcomes leaves a troubling gap in official explanations, as the wet terrain routinely swallows the tracks of even the most seasoned trackers. In the 6th place, Cape San Blas presents a hazard, where the terrain itself refuses to remain static. This narrow Florida Panhandle spit has physically migrated twice since 1900, redrawing its own boundaries through severe coastal erosion and accretion. USGS surveys and state environmental reports flagged the Cape as a critically eroded zone, but the danger extends past mere property loss. Because the shifting sands constantly alter coastal trails, access points, and dependable landmarks, visitors frequently report sudden, severe disorientation. Hikers and beachgoers find their return routes swallowed by the Gulf or blocked by newly formed inlets. This physical instability turns the coastline into an active hazard, where the ground beneath a traveler's feet can alter the map in a matter of weeks, leaving search teams without reliable reference lines. In the 5th place, Fakahatchee Strand Preserve is a vast subtropical wilderness often called the Amazon of North America. Spanning 85,000 acres of deep cypress swamps and wet prairies, the preserve carries a long history of caution. Archaeological records suggest the indigenous Calusa people historically avoided the interior strand, viewing it as a place of no return, a cultural memory rooted in physical reality rather than myth. The terrain's extreme ecological scale makes navigation nearly impossible once off the main tram roads. A dense forest canopy blocks out overhead light, while deep mud, standing water, and repetitive vegetation completely disrupt any sense of direction. For search teams, this combination of low visibility and unstable terrain means that any track is rapidly reclaimed by the swamp. In the fourth place, Gulf County's coastal waters present a density of unresolved maritime disappearances that exceeds any other county coastline in Florida. The pattern here is driven by raw numbers rather than a single famous case. In late 2024, Randall Spivey and Brandon Billmeyer disappeared along this coastline. Their 42-foot boat was recovered 70 miles offshore with the engines running, but both men were gone. Tracking these cases is exceptionally difficult. Offshore losses severely limit physical evidence recovery, while shifting boundaries between local sheriff departments and federal Coast Guard units complicate long-term investigations. This jurisdictional overlap, combined with open water currents, leaves families with suspended search notices instead of concrete forensic answers. This high concentration of cases per mile turns the county's waters into a measurable corridor of loss. In third place, the Everglades interior presents an immense wetland corridor where search efforts routinely stall. Since the 1970s, investigators have documented a persistent cluster of missing persons cases within this vast, flooded grassland. The geography of the Everglades, defined by shifting water levels and dense sawgrass, physically obstructs standard search grids and slows down recovery teams. Over decades, numerous individuals have traveled into these marshlands and vanished, leaving behind zero physical evidence. While dry forests allow for rapid ground searches, the saturated wetlands of the Everglades quickly erase tracks before searchers can deploy. The resulting volume of unresolved reports over a 50-year period has met with quiet agency closures, leaving families with suspended search notices and incomplete public explanations. These long-term open cases remain unresolved as the swamp continuously reclaims any physical proof. In second place, the 10,000 Islands backcountry marine area presents a labyrinth of mangrove islands and shallow channels where vessels disappear without a trace. Unlike open ocean corridors, this region is a complex maze of thousands of identical water passages. Local fishing logs and Coast Guard archives record multiple cases of boats found floating empty, or vessels that vanished entirely with no debris field ever located. The physical geography of the backcountry makes standard search patterns ineffective, as tidal currents constantly shift sandbars and drag physical evidence further into the mangrove roots. Search and recovery teams face a frustrating landscape where a boat can sit just yards away, hidden entirely by the dense canopy. This structural complexity leaves investigators with immense gaps in their timelines, frequently forcing agencies to suspend searches without recovering the vessel or its passengers, leaving families without any forensic resolution. And finally, in first place, St. George Island presents an environment where the physical landscape refuses to remain constant. Since 1900, USGS records document more than 30 meters of shoreline retreat along this dynamic barrier island. This ongoing geomorphic instability constantly alters overland trails, coastal boundaries, and sand dunes, meaning the maps used by visitors can become obsolete in a matter of seasons. When hikers or beachgoers wander into the state park territory, this rapid physical change regularly triggers severe spatial disorientation. Search and rescue operations here face severe complications because the shifting topography quickly erases footprints, tracks, and physical evidence. Official files record multiple incidents of visitors becoming lost within the park boundaries, yet investigations often close with unresolved timelines. The island's retreating edge and unstable terrain create a setting where the ground itself actively hinders recovery efforts. This extreme physical volatility, combined with a lack of concrete forensic resolution in local logs, makes the island the most challenging disappearance corridor on the coastline. Across these 10 locations, one truth emerges. Florida's geography actively erases forensic evidence. The mystery isn't supernatural, it's how swiftly shifting currents and dense wilderness overwrite human presence. In these corridors, the landscape itself remains the ultimate silent obstacle to justice. Subscribe for more investigative reports.